Pop Smoke would not approve of his music that's been dropping. I'm Frank 5D and this is Dedicated Etiquette, right here on the rap scene. As hip-hop keeps getting bigger and bigger, we keep losing more and more rappers. Whether it be from gun violence, overdose, or illness, the simple fact that there are so many rappers means that we will hear of their passing more than artists from most other genres. In the digital age, these rappers make so much more of a connection with their fan bases, and when the awful news reaches the public, they all see a boost in success in the form of streams and purchases of their catalogs. We all post photos, caption RIP, talk about how crazy it is that they're gone, remember the first time we were introduced to what they created for us, and of course, anticipate the drop of whatever projects they never got to release in their lifetime. The labels and record companies already know what time it is when a rapper dies because unfortunately the bottom line is the bottom line. What that means for us is the release of music that usually displays a clear disconnection from what made us love the artist from jump. We constantly get these mashed up projects with disjointed vocals, questionable production, and bizarre features from all kinds of artists. There are honestly too many posthumous albums to name that are transparent cash grabs and only serve to supplement the bottom line. No compassion, no inspiration, missing the individual who was able to breathe the correct life into the record that they never dropped or didn't live long enough to. It gets even worse when we get music that the fallen never intended to release on the strength of we own this so we'll release what we want. But the fact is that if you do not own what you create, then it stands a chance of being polluted and exploited after your death. The culture is definitely divided on the soundness of posthumous music and the spectrum is wide. The late Pop Smoke's producer Rico Beats says that Pop would not approve of 99% of his music that's been released since his death in February 2022. He apparently said this to a random fan, so it can't be some inside information. It's right on Front Street from the man himself. What's funny is he was pretty damn pumped when he himself announced Pop's second posthumous album in 2021's Fate. Pop was already working on his debut album prior to his death, so it's unclear if Rico Beats was talking about the one 50 Cent finished. But I'm gonna include it since he referenced what came out after Pop died. Both albums debuted at number 1 on the 200, which makes me question if Pop would have been okay for going 2 for 2, or even further, would he have done so if he were alive to create the music? It's a strange thing to say as his producer, but he's not the only person who feels the same way about Pop Smoke's or posthumous music in general. One of the most prolific artists of our time, Tyler the Creator, recently said at a show that he doesn't want any of his unreleased music to drop when he's gone. The eclectic Los Angeles artist went on to state that his living will doesn't allow for posthumous music to be released. He said it's fucking gross, like half-ass ideas and some random feature from some nigga I didn't fuck with. Like, no. The amazing Anderson .Paak has a tattoo on him that says, "When I'm gone, please don't release any posthumous albums or songs with my name attached. Those were just demos and never intended to be heard by the public." Both Tyler and Anderson collect Grammys like cars, and like Tyler also said, a lot of it is surely too good to just sit on a hard drive. But if that's what they want, then that's probably gonna happen, especially if they don't get on the Ed Sheeran revolution and begin planning posthumous releases while he's still alive to control them. Y'all keep wondering why Ed Sheeran is accepted by hip-hop. Dude is dope. There are definitely exceptions to what I'm saying here, and it usually has to do with the involvement of the artist in the time between the death and release. Biggie died 2 weeks before Life After Death was dropped, and it will never feel like a posthumous album because he was done making it. I gotta shout out Jay Dilla's The Shining, Big L's The Big Picture, Big Pun's Yeah Baby, and of course Tupac's Machiavelli, The Don Illuminati, The 7 Day Theory, among so many others. But again, these artists were able to craft and create the projects we were gonna get. Their albums are not collections of verses they didn't want to use coupled with strange features. We need to keep the people in charge accountable for what we consume from them, or at least just leave it alone. There are too many artists falling every year, and what they're leaving behind is time and time again benefiting those who they did not intend for it to. OK Player reports that producer Royale Deluxe Madlib is finishing up on the long-awaited sequel to Mad Villainy, his legendary collab with the late great Doom. He also insists that his collab with the late great Mac Miller is also coming, titled Maclib. Both projects were in the works prior to both MCs passing, and we know that any material is in good hands with Madlib. Him, Doom, and Miller are known for their influential presence and innovation, so it's not a problem to wait for what eventually comes. That buffer zone also diminishes the sentiment of, oh, this is just a cash in on the death of rapper X and whatever music they left behind as fast as we can. Posthumous releases need extreme care, yo. Whether you liked it or not, Pop Smoke got it from 50 on Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon. Juice WRLD got it on Legends Never Die. Chinks got it on Welcome to JFK. Mac Miller got it with Circles. Exceptions aside, why do so many of these post-death hip-hop releases feel like lifetime movies of what our favorite artists would put out? A leading ideal that these rappers live by is doing whatever they do for their families. It has to be an awful prospect that all the essence of you that went into the creation of your art is simply left behind to line the pockets of people who have no recognition of your existence. I confess, as a member of the Hip Hop Alliance, the culture's first and only labor force organization, I'm ignorant to if there's an initiative or some type of fund that attempts to in any way take care of the families of these fallen rappers. It's a dope idea that requires a ton of buy-in and is strikingly far from impossible. Regardless, the music left behind by those that have passed could and should be an integral part of what I'm talking about. Posthumous albums are a shady business driven by, once again, the bottom line, and we have to see the difference between what was created, the fitting and due tribute, or the money-hungry cash grab. The art is gonna art, and interpretation is up to the consumer. What are we gonna make happen? Plug 2, Trugoy the Dove was working on music up to and just prior to his untimely passing. He was on the cusp of realizing years of fighting for his most influential material to be released on streaming platforms, and stood to see a bag he was never privy to. We hope and want to believe that his appropriate beneficiaries see the fruits of his years of labor in hip-hop and the culture at large. I want to go on record saying that the release of any posthumous album would gladly be traded for the presence of the artists themselves. I definitely want another interview from Pimp C, or Drakeo the Ruler, or Biggie, etc. The list is absolutely too long and the what-if scenarios are infinite. The minutia informally states that it's really about the legacy one leaves behind, not the tangible artifacts. But when the legacy is sown through the tangible artifacts, it's hard to decipher the minutia. It's important to realize that this idea is not exclusive to hip-hop and that it spans all artistic mediums. These artists that meet their death too soon are revered for many reasons, and we can't help but fantasize of what could have been while we get people's interpretations of what it should be. It's hard to wax about this topic without mentioning the prestigious young MC Capital Steez. Steez was charismatic, influential, innovative, dope, and the undeniable driving force behind the pro-era movement in the early 2010s. He unfortunately and tragically met his end in 2012, leaving behind a project that is still awaiting many deserving ears. His groupmate Joey Badass has recently been on record claiming himself as the single person at the forefront of the movement to get Steez's material to the masses. He was light years beyond his time, and it almost seems wrong to release what he was not up to releasing, despite what Joey feels. That was his man, so what the hell do I know? What I do know is they need to approach whatever they decide to do pretty delicately over 10 years later, because it may not be received how Steez wanted it to. If that happens, then we can't fault the proverbial them. We have to fault ourselves for wanting to hear it so bad and be ready for when it happens after the next rapper dies. Straight up and down. And the way the game is going and the culture is evolving, we're definitely going to keep losing rappers, and people are going to keep profiting off of it because we're going to keep memorializing our rappers. But we really do need to take a step back and determine if we really want the projects they weren't convicted enough to give us during their lifetimes. While some are great, most appear shabby and half-hearted, barely worth the effort that the artist actually put into it. Some want their art released after they're gone, some detest the idea of it, and some, just like us consumers, have no say in the idea at all. None of this makes it right or wrong, and it really is all up for interpretation. I want to hear it, I just don't want it to be a whack-ass interpretation of what rapper X gave us when they were among the living. It must be some kind of personal hell to devote your life to reaching the pinnacle and excellence of your creative ability, only to end up a ghost in death and see and hear your conception butchered and manipulated to the point of unrecognition. Them's truly is the breaks. Thanks for watching, yo. When I die, go bury me in my notebooks in Cairo. Remember me like the 1st and 15th, my seed will be ill like me, all that. Nah, but RIP to all of the fallen artists I named in the video and everyone else I didn't. Thanks to them for what they gave us. This goes out to all their beloveds for being forever up. I'm Frank 5D for Dedicated Etiquette right here on the rap scene. Positive energy activates constant elevation.